Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another Let's Max Warframe. Man, these are coming thick and fast, aren't they? Today's the last of the 21.7 weapons, the heavy melee, completing the Arca set, and that is the Arca Titron. Unlike the other two Arca weapons, the Titron can be found as a blueprint simply on the market for credits. It's really not expensive to build at all. But what you get once you do build it is a hammer that does a huge 180 damage a swing. It's the highest base damage out of all the melee weapons in the game. Most of that comes as impact, but it has a really decent amount of slash as well. Like the Cisco I checked out earlier, it has no puncture, which makes it one of the very few melee weapons that is missing one of the physical damage types. The supporting stats are always going to show where the weapon is going to excel. The 24% critical chance, 200% multiplier shows that Blood Rush build for crit is going to work exceedingly well when combined with the huge 38% status chance. You're going to be able to run both a crit and status build, allowing the use of condition overload to push damage into crazy levels once you get a couple of procs on the target. Unlike the Cisco that I checked out yesterday, the Titron does have one downside, and it's a fairly big one. The attack speed of just 0.733, which is just super slow. It's something that does hurt the weapon a lot. With Berserker, you've got to put up with that speed until you have crit a few times to build up your attack speed. Or you could fix the initial swings with Prime Fury at the expense of a lower potential attack speed, something that also hurts the weapon. It's pretty much lose-lose here with how slow it is, but I guess it does give the impression that you are wielding an extremely heavy hammer, so it does fulfill its intended effect. But it also means that half the time you're trying to swing at an enemy, and because you swing so slow, you miss the target entirely because they simply walked away from you before you landed the hit. Like the other Arca weapons, this has a special mechanic to it as well. For every kill that you get with the weapon, it will build up a charge of slam capacitor. This can stack up to 10 times, and for each stack it will give an additional 100% slam attack damage, up to that maximum of 1000% slam damage. The slam itself already has an electricity AoE attached to it, but the damage from that slam attack is not terrible, and it can be increased using seismic wave. In terms of the stance I actually use for the Titron, I actually go with one that fits the default polarity, Crushing Ruin. Most of the time, it's because I hate the stances, or stances barely make any difference, but this time it's not really the case. The right-click hold combo from Crushing Ruin, which is called Raging Whirlwind, that has a slam attack at the end of it, and that will discharge the stacks of slam capacitor that you've already got built up. This actually brings some interesting synergy between the mechanic of the weapon and the stance. The way that I use this is I will build up the stacks using the default E combo of Tidal Force, and that means that sometimes completely by accident I do the pause combo of Shattered Village. But then once I've built up enough stacks with those two combos, I unleash it using the Raging Whirlwind combo. This removes the need to do any weird jump slams or anything like that, and makes the bonus of the weapon flow smoothly if it's continuous. It makes the whole thing feel so fluid, and I like it a lot. Hence why I went with this stance over Shattering Storm. The build that I decided to go for ended up being basically a pretty standard critical condition overload build. Only a single former needed to be put onto the weapon. I changed the dash polarity the weapon came with to a V to complement the V that's already got. Then I put on Prime Pressure Point, Blood Rush, Drifting Contact for that crit combo, plus the additional status chance that Drifting Contact brings. Got Organ Shatter for crit damage, Berserker for attack speed when you do land a crit, Condition Overload for additional damage on status procs, and that's working with the two dual stats, bringing our elemental combo. In this case, you can see I've got Gas on here, which is probably one of the better combos to go with, plus the additional status from those dual stat mods. You could also add another former to the weapon, switch out Berserker for Prime Fury if you wanted to. It depends on whether you want that initial speed, or whether you can put up with the slow speed until you build up that Berserker. It's going to be completely down to personal preference. I did try out Seismic Wave, and it didn't seem to be worth it over any of the other mods in the build. However, it is an option if you just wanted to mess around with it. So what do I think of the Arca Titron? Well, honestly, I don't really like it that much. The slow attack speed just kills it for me. I know it's a heavy chunk of metal that you're swinging around, but something that slow just isn't something that I personally enjoy. Just ends up being more frustrating than it is fun. Swinging at an enemy and watching them walk 2 feet forward and you miss the hit just because of how slow the weapon is, it's just simply frustrating. I've never really enjoyed the hammers, they're just too slow for me. In a game like Warframe, with how efficient things like Maiming Strike, Atarax and Soliacs are that you're likely to get into a squad with, slow weapons just like this, they just get left behind so quickly. It's a huge shame because I want to like this weapon. Yes, the slam attack damage from a slam capacitor, it's kind of dropped off sort of midway through the sorties, but the weapon itself puts out a crazy amount of damage. In the footage you can see now, you can see me smashing my way through these 150s really easily, using the combination of Tidal Force and Raging Whirlwind combo. Plus, let's be honest here, the weapon once again looks incredible. Seriously, who is designing these Corpus weapons and how much do they deserve a raise right now? Does this mean that I think the Arca Titron is a bad weapon? No, not even slightly. The weapon itself is hugely effective, it does a ton of damage, and in the right hands, and maybe in the right setup, Eternal War Valkyr, Harrow, Volt, it might be something that people can do some real work with. However, it's not really one that I personally enjoyed. I think if you enjoyed the Fragor or the Fragor Prime, then this will be right up your alley. But then, it's a cheap weapon though, to build it, test it, you know, see what you think. You never know what can happen. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Arca Titron. I've only got the Prisma Angstrom to go for now, plus a couple of other videos that I've got planned. So for now, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.